The whisper in the shadow alley was cold, quiet, and forgotten. Trash bins lined the walls of the loading docks behind the old market district. Most people didn't walk here not after dark, but Damon wasn't like most people. He had just finished his shift at the repair bay and took the shortcut through the alley every evening. Tired and hungry, he just wanted to get home. His boots splashed in a shallow puddle as he passed an old crate. That's when he heard it. A whisper, soft, shaky, and full of fear. "Please, don't call the guards." He stopped. His eyes searched the shadows. At first, he saw nothing. Then a faint movement behind the crate. Slowly, he stepped forward. His hand hovered near the small stun stick on his belt, just in case. "Who's there?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. A face peeked out. Small, pale, with large violet eyes glowing faintly in the dark. It was a girl, no older than 14, maybe younger. Her skin had a strange shimmer, and two small fins curved from the sides of her head. Clearly not human. Behind her, a second, smaller shape stirred. Another child. This one was curled up, trembling and coughing quietly. "We're not bad," the older girl whispered again. We don't want to go back." Damon blinked, unsure what he was seeing. Alien children, alone in a dirty alley. That wasn't normal, not here, not anywhere near the central districts. "Are you hurt?" he asked slowly. The girl shook her head. "We're just hungry. Cold. We'll clean. We'll cook. We'll do anything. Just don't tell them, the patrol, the buyers, the ones who took the others." Something cold moved in Damon's chest. He crouched down, eye level now with the older girl. Her little sister's eyes barely opened as she coughed again. "How long have you been hiding?" he asked gently. 3 nights, she said. "We ran when the ship stopped. They didn't see us." "What's your name?" She hesitated, like the answer itself was dangerous. Then finally, "Sylvie. And that's Ray. She's my sister." Damon looked around. The alley was quiet now, but it wouldn't stay that way for long. Patrols came through sometimes, and someone might have heard voices. "You can't stay here," he said. "It's not safe." Sylvie's body tensed. She thought he meant to turn them in. "Wait," he added quickly. I know a place. It's not much, but it's warm, and it's safe." Her eyes widened. "You're not one of them?" "No," he said simply. "Just a mechanic. My name's Damon." She didn't move for a long moment. Then, carefully, she lifted her sister in her arms. Ray was light to light and wrapped in thin cloth that barely passed for clothes. Damon led them down the alley, past shuttered doors and empty vendors. His small apartment was only a few blocks away, hidden above an old junk shop he sometimes fixed things for. It wasn't fancy, just one room, a bed, a sink, and a heater that worked half the time. But it was better than the streets. Inside, he gave them both blankets. Ray fell asleep quickly, still coughing softly. Sylvie sat on the floor, too stiff to relax. "You trust me now?" Damon asked, sitting across from her with a mug of warm broth. She looked at him. "I don't know. But you didn't hurt us. That's more than most." "You said the buyers. What did you mean?" She looked away. Her voice was quiet. "They took others from our ship. We were supposed to be sold, used for work, or worse. My mother was already gone. I grabbed Ray and ran when the door opened. We've been hiding since." Damon felt a tight knot in his chest. "No child should go through that. You're safe here," he said. "I won't let them take you." She studied his face, searching for lies. Maybe she didn't find any. Maybe she just had no other choice. She nodded once. "Thank you," she whispered. "We'll work. We'll clean. Just let us stay." He shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. Just rest for now." Outside, the wind howled down the alleyways, but inside that tiny room, A fragile peace settled in. Sylvie pulled the blanket around herself and watched Ray's chest rise and fall. It was the first time they'd felt warmth in days. Damon looked out the window, unaware that eyes were watching from the rooftop nearby. Someone had seen him lead them home, and that someone didn't plan to stay quiet for long. Their hunted sun had barely risen over the city dome, and the sky above the space station's surface turned a soft blue-gray. Markets were just opening, and people hurried through the cold morning air. But something new was now posted on the walls and digital boards across the sector. Bounty notices. Damon stared at one as he walked to the supply depot. The image showed 2 alien girls, one older, one younger. It didn't mention names, just said escaped property, unauthorized life forms, reward for return, alive. His heart dropped. It was Sylvie and Ray. He rushed back to his apartment, his mind racing. He had brought them in out of kindness, but now, this was dangerous. If someone recognized them, if the enforcers knocked on his door, it wouldn't just be the girls in trouble. He could be arrested, or worse. When he opened the door, Sylvie was already awake. She sat by the heater, her arms around her sister, watching him with eyes that no longer held fear, but something else. Sadness, exhaustion, as if she had seen the notice too. "They found us," she said softly. "Yea," Damon replied, closing the door behind him. "I saw." Ray was still weak, curled under the blanket, her breathing soft but steady. "We can leave," Sylvie said quickly. "You helped us enough. You don't have to get in trouble." "No," Damon said. "You're not going anywhere. Not until she's better. Not until we figure something out." She looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. Instead, she lowered her head and held Ray closer. "Do you have anyone?" he asked. "Someone you trust?" "Not anymore," she whispered. That night, Damon didn't sleep. He paced the room, thinking. He couldn't report them, but he couldn't keep them here much longer either. The bounty made things dangerous for all of them. He remembered someone, an old friend, Lissa, who worked in the lower medical stations. She once helped injured outcasts and alien refugees in secret. Maybe, just maybe, she could help again. Before sunrise, Damon made his way through the quiet sector streets, wearing his hood low. He reached Lisa's side clinic, tucked in the shadow of the freight docks. When she opened the door, her face changed fast from surprise to worry. "You're not hurt, are you?" she asked. "Not me. 2 alien girls. Young. They're sick, scared, and being hunted. I'm hiding them, but I need help." She stepped aside. "Start talking." Back at the apartment, Sylvie stayed by Ray's side, but something inside her felt uneasy. Not just fear, but a feeling she had learned to trust. Danger, eyes watching. She peeked through the blinds. Across the street, a tall figure leaned against a building wall. His coat was thick, his eyes hidden behind dark glasses. He didn't move much, but he was there when Damon left, and still there now. Her heart raced. She stepped back from the window and shook Ray gently. "Ray, wake up." Ray blinked. Cold. We might have to move." Just then, footsteps echoed outside the door. Slow, deliberate, a knock. Sylvi. Single quotes S. Heart stopped. She held Ray close and didn't breathe. The knock came. Again, harder than a voice. Male, deep. "We know you're in there." She grabbed the old metal pipe Damon kept near the bed. It was too heavy for her. Her hands shook. The door handle turned slightly, but it was locked. Another knock, louder this time, then silence. After a few seconds, the footsteps moved away. She didn't move. Not until Damon returned, out of breath, eyes wide. "Someone was here," she said quickly. He knocked. He knew. "They're closing in," Damon muttered. "We have to go now." "Where?" "A safe place, an old friend. But we need to move fast and quiet." Damon packed, quickly blankets, water, medicine. He carried Ray, who clung to him weakly. Sylvie followed close, clutching a stolen coat around her. They slipped into the tunnels. Below the city maintenance shafts and old sewage lines long abandoned. The air smelled of rust and damp metal. Shadows stretched forever. "Who's chasing us?" Sylvie finally asked. "Who posted the bounty?" Damon looked at her. Not police, not official enforcers. Private hunters. Someone rich, someone dangerous. She stared back. "They bought the others. They want us back." "They won't get you," Damon promised. "I'll protect you, no matter what." But he didn't see the shadowed figure silently following through the tunnels. A red light blinked. Once on a wrist device, they had been found. A human's Promoseth tunnels under the city groaned with age. Broken pipes hissed steam into the cold air, and the floor was wet beneath Damon's boots. He carried Ray in his arms, wrapped in blankets, her little body burning with fever. Sylvie walked close behind, holding a small light they had found in an abandoned storage box. The three of them were silent, listening. Every drip of water, every echo of their own steps felt too loud. "We're almost there," Damon whispered. "Who is this friend?" Sylvie asked, her voice low but tense. "Lisa," he said. "She was a medic during the war, helped people like you, people who had nowhere else to go." Sylvie didn't ask more questions, but her eyes didn't leave the dark corners of the tunnel. She didn't trust the silence. They turned a corner and reached a heavy metal door. Damon knocked twice, then paused, then knocked once more. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the door opened. A woman stood inside, human, tall, with a cybernetic arm that glowed faint blue under her long coat. Her eyes scanned the girl in Damon's arms. "Get in," she said. Now, inside the hidden shelter, the lights were dim but warm. Old power generators hummed softly. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe. Thick walls, hidden cameras, and deep underground. Lisa took Ray from Damon and laid her gently on a cot. "She's burning up," Lisa muttered. "How long's she been sick?" 2, maybe 3 days, Sylvie replied, standing close. "I tried to keep her warm, but she's so small." Lisa didn't reply. She just worked fast and focused. She injected a serum into Ray's arm, placed small sensors on her skin, and wrapped her in heat blankets. Damon and Sylvie watched from the side, silent. After a while, Lisa stepped back. "She's asleep," Lisa said. "She's weak, but stable." Now, Sylvie's legs gave out. She sat on the floor, trembling. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." Damon sat beside her. He didn't speak either. Minutes passed. Silence returned, but it wasn't peaceful. Finally, Sylvie looked at him. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "You don't know us. You could have walked away." Damon leaned back against the wall, eyes staring at the ceiling. "I once saw a ship crash outside Outpost 7. Years ago. Alien refugees. They were dying. I was part of the team sent to clean up, but clean up didn't mean rescue." He swallowed hard. "I watched a little girl get pulled away from her mother, crying, screaming. No one did anything. I still hear that sound sometimes when I try to sleep." Sylvie stared at him. "So now you're helping us, because you couldn't help her?" Damon looked at her. "No, I'm helping you because it's the right thing, because no one else will, and because I made a promise to myself that day that, if I ever got the chance, I'd never look away again." She nodded slowly. "Then, I promise to," she whispered. "If we survive, I'll protect Ray. I'll never let them take her." Damon gave her a small, tired smile. "You already are." But far above them, on the surface, the hunt hadn't stopped. The man in the long coat Kalux watched the bounty screen in the bar. A tracker device blinked softly on his wrist. He had planted it on Damon's boot, back in the tunnel, just a small needle-thin dart. The signal was weak but clear. Underground. He muttered. Clever. He stood and left the bar. 10 minutes later, a secure message was sent to a private. Collector on Argon 7. Target located. Preparing extraction. Inside the shelter, Ray opened her eyes. She looked better. Her skin glowed faintly with health again. Sylvie rushed to her side, tears in her eyes. You're awake, Sylvie said. Softly. Rei blinked. Warm, dream, food. Damon chuckled gently. We can work on the food part. They shared a small meal, real food, warm and full of spice. It wasn't much, but for the two alien girls, it was everything. Sylv. I looked around the room. The heavy walls, the locked doors, the cameras. Do you think they'll find us? She asked. Damon grew quiet. Maybe, but we're not going to run forever. Then what? She whispered. Then we fight back. She frowned. How? We have nothing. We have each other, Damon said. And that's more than they ever counted on. But as he said it, the tracker under his boot sent a soft pulse through the shadows, and the hunter was already coming. The doors kicked in. Silence in the underground shelter was sharp, too sharp. Damon had felt it first. A tension in the air, like a weight pressing down. The kind of feeling he used to get during border patrol in the war, just before ambushes. He didn't want to alarm Sylvie or Ray, but something inside him whispered, they're coming. Sylvi, on the other hand, was finally smiling again. Ray had eaten, slept, and now sat beside her playing with a worn-out music cube Lisa gave her. For the first time since escaping the ship, Sylvie saw a flicker of her sister's childhood return. That innocence, brief, but real, was everything. To her, Lisa noticed it too. You both could stay here a while, she said, adjusting the sensors on the wall. The outer cameras show nothing. We're deep enough underground. But Damon didn't relax. He checked the cameras himself. Something was off. No movement in Sector 6. He asked Lisa. None, she replied. Exactly, he muttered. There's always movement in Sector 6. Then came the signal. Static, flicker, black screen. Camera feed, gone. Lisa. Damon said sharply, standing up. How many exits do we have? 2. Main door, and the old emergency vent tunnel, small, but usable. Get them to that vent, now. Sylvie stood, holding Ray's hand. What's wrong? They found us, Damon said. No time to explain, go. Above ground, Calyx stood before the shelter door. He didn't smile, didn't blink, just activated a hand scanner and placed it against the control panel. Buzz. Access denied. He stepped back and spoke calmly into his wrist. Door sealed, initiating forced breach. From his shoulder, a small spherical drone detached and hovered. It flashed red once, then fired a silent pulse that struck the lock like lightning. Boom. Metal bent, twisted, then fell inward. Calyx stepped into the smoke. Underground, the explosion rocked the entire shelter. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lights flickered. Go, Damon shouted. Lisa pushed open the emergency vent and helped Ray crawl inside. Sylvie followed, but turned back. What about you? I'll hold him off, Damon said. Go. Sylvie looked terrified. Her eyes met his. Don't die. Wasn't planning on it. She vanished into the tunnel. The door burst open. Calyx stepped through, scanning the room with cold precision. Damon raised the old shock rifle Lisa kept for emergencies. They're gone, he said. Calyx didn't speak. He walked slowly toward him, one hand by his belt. Turn around, Calyx said. No, I won't kill you. Not unless you force me. Damon fired. The rifle blast hit Calyx in the shoulder. He staggered but didn't fall. Armor advanced and expensive. He pulled his blaster and fired back. Damon dove behind a crate, barely avoiding the burn. They're children, Damon yelled. You're hunting children. They're property, Calyx replied coldly. My client paid for them. I deliver. Damon grabbed a pipe and rushed forward. It was stupid, reckless, but it bought time. The fight was messy. Damon managed to land a hard hit, breaking part of Calex's mask. Blood leaked down the hunter's jaw, but Damon was outmatched. He was thrown into the wall. Gasping, Klex raised his weapon then froze. The shelter's backup defense grid activated. Lisa, watching from the other side of the building, had triggered the fallback program. A row of metal spikes burst from the wall between Kalex and Damon. The hunter stepped back narrowly, avoiding impalement. Lisa's voice echoed through the speaker. "You want them? Come find them in the old waste tunnels. Good luck surviving, down there." Kalex turned, his eyes burning. But Damon was already gone, dragged into the shadows by Lisa. Bleeding but alive, .sylvi, and Ray crawled through the narrow emergency tunnel, hearts pounding. They could hear the rumble of the fight. Behind them, REI whispered, "Is Damon gonna be okay?" "Yes," Sylvie lead. "He's strong. He'll find us." But in truth, she didn't know. They finally emerged into an old mining shaft, forgotten and dark. Ahead, flickering light showed another tunnel. Voices echoed, but they were mechanical. "Drones, .sylv. I pulled Ray back. Too late. A small scanner. Drone hovered and locked onto them. She wrapped her arms around Ray. "No," she whispered. "Not again." But the drone paused. It scanned them, and then flew away. Why? Sylvie didn't wait to ask questions. She pulled Ray toward the dark path again. Hours later, Damon woke in a small chamber inside the waste tunnels. Lisa stood beside him, his shoulder bandaged, his side burned. "You're lucky," she said. "If I'd been a minute late, the girls, gone, escaped. Where? I don't know." Damon sat up despite the pain. "Then we find them," he said. Lisa stared at him. "You're half dead. Doesn't matter. I made a promise." Above them, Kalex stood on the edge of the tunnel system, scanning the terrain with one eye swollen and broken. His tracker was dead, but he wasn't finished. No one escapes forever. When hope bleeds, old mining tunnels stretched on for miles, dry, cracked, and forgotten by time. Dust hung in the air like old secrets, and every footstep echoed like a warning. Sylvie held Ray's hand tightly as they moved through the dark. Their legs were tired, their clothes torn, and their hope was fading. REI single quotes breath grew shallower with every step. "Sylvie," she whispered, "I feel ... dizzy." Sylvie stopped. She knelt and touched her sister's forehead. Fever again. The medicine Lisa gave them had worn off. Ray's body was fighting, but it was too weak, too hungry, too cold. Sylvie looked around. They had found an old maintenance room, tiny metal walls rusted, a broken panel still giving off a weak light. She helped Ray lie down and covered her with what little cloth they had. "Just rest," Sylvie whispered, voice trembling. "I'll find help, I promise." Ray nodded, half asleep. "Don't go far." Sylvie stepped out, heart pounding. She was scared. Not of the dark, but of the silence. Of being too late. Above the tunnels, Damon limped forward. His wounds were fresh, but his will was iron. Lisa had offered to send others, to call in favors. But Damon refused. "They trusted me," he said. "They waited for me." His old army scanner flickered to life, weak signals below, to life. Signs. Then, another one, moving fast, not human. The hunter, Damon pressed forward, pain stabbing through every step. Deep in the tunnel, Kalex moved like a ghost. His helmet cracked, his armor scratched, but his tracker had reactivated. Ray's weak energy signature pinged once, then again. Finally, he muttered, "The lost prize." His weapon was already armed. .sylv. I reached a junction in the tunnel, load lights flickering above her. She saw movement and froze. "A figure human. Damon," she gasped. He turned, his face bruised, arm bandaged, but his eyes were the same. Strong, kind. "Sylvie," he called out. They ran to each other. He dropped to one knee, catching his breath. Ray, he asked quickly. In the room behind me. She's getting worse, Sylvie said. Damon nodded. We need to move her. Now. But before they could take a step, a sharp snap echoed down the tunnel. They turned. Kalex stood at the far end of the hallway. Blaster raised, glowing red in the dark. End of the line, he said. Sylv stepped in front of Damon, arms spread. You won't take her. Kalex didn't speak. He just walked forward slowly. You're not even a soldier, he told Damon. Just a junk worker playing hero. Get out of the way. Damon raised his body, shielding Sylvie. I've been many things, he said. But today, I'm her shield. This is business, Kalex said. She's marked cargo. Her bloodline's worth thousands. She's a child, Sylvie screamed. She's my sister. Kalex tilted his head. Your sister died the day your ship was captured. What you're doing now, delaying the inevitable. He stepped forward again. Sylv. I knew what she had to do. She turned to Damon. Take Ray. Get her out. Hide her. Protect her. What? Damon asked, confused. Before he could stop her, she stepped into the open. Take me, she yelled at Kalex. Leave them alone, and I'll go with you. Willingly, Kalex smiled for the first time. Clever, noble, stupid. Swear it, she said. You won't touch her. I swear, nothing. But even so, he lowered the blaster slightly. Come. Damon moved. No, Sylvie. But she shook her head. Ray needs to live. You made a promise. Now keep it. Before Damon could argue, Kalex grabbed her arm, his weapon aimed at Damon. Follow us, he warned, and the deal ends. They disappeared into the tunnel. Damon stood frozen, his heart burning. He turned back, ran toward the small chamber. Ray was still breathing, but barely. He picked her up gently, eyes full of fire. I will come back for her, he whispered. Hours later, Kalex delivered Sylvie to a hidden shuttle bay. She sat in silence, her wrists bound, eyes hollow. He walked away to speak to his buyer through the comms.n. In that moment, Sylvie pulled a hidden pin from her sleeve, a sharp, small device Lisa had once given her for emergencies. If they try to take you again, don't wait for someone to save you. Fight. Her hands shook, but her will was strong. This wasn't over, not yet. The choice that shocked everyone at the cold metal floor of the shuttle bay felt like ice under Sylvie's knees. Her hands were tied behind her back with sharp plasma cuffs, the kind that tightened if she moved too fast. Her head ached. Her heart ached even more, but she never cried. Not when Kalex threw her into the corner. Not when the guards laughed about her market value. Not when she heard the words noble blood, perfect for royal breeding. She only thought about one thing. REI. Was she safe? Was she warm? Was Damon still alive? And would she ever see them? Again, above the planet, aboard a ship shaped like a blade, a private buyer waited. Her name was Malera Collector, rich beyond reason, cruel beyond understanding. She was known across several systems for purchasing rare alien species and raising them as trophies, or worse, today. She waited for the girl with the violet eyes, the one who once belonged to a fallen noble family, the one who had escaped. On the surface, Damon crouched beside a fire inside an abandoned transport shell. Ray lay wrapped in blankets, her fever lower now. Lisa had delivered one last vial of serum before she disappeared again. But time was running out. Sylvie was gone, and Damon hadn't slept since Rei opened her eyes. She's not back yet. Damon shook his head. Rei sat up slowly. She told me once, if she ever disappeared, it meant she chose it, to protect me. Damon looked down. She's brave, braver than anyone I've known. Then we go get her, Ray said. You're still sick, but you're not. And she's my sister. We have to try. He stared at the little girl, then stood, firelight glowing in his eyes. "We don't run anymore," he said. "We fight." Calyx paced outside the shuttle, checking the time. The buyer's ship would arrive in minutes. Inside, Sylvie pressed her back against the wall, breathing slowly. The tiny device Lisa gave her, the emergency pin, was still hidden inside her boot. It was small, sharp, and armed with a shock pulse. She just needed one chance. The door opened. 2 guards entered. "Stand up," one said. She didn't move. The second guard grabbed her arm roughly, and that's when she acted, in a single move. Sylvie jammed her heel into the guard's knee, twisted, and slipped the pin into the plasma cuff. It short-circuited instantly. A bright blue flash exploded in the room. The guards collapsed. "SYLV," I gasped, her wrist bleeding from the sparks, but she was free. Alarms rang out. She ran outside. Calyx turned as the siren screamed. He rushed back in, blaster ready, but too late. SYLVI sprinted through the docking area, dodging crates, her vision blurred from tears and fire ALIGHT, and escape pod. Small, scratched, but charged. She jumped in, slammed the door shut, and launched just as Calyx fired. The pod shot into the air. Flames chased behind it. Damon saw the streak in the sky, a fireball falling toward the mountains. He ran to the hilltop, Ray in his arms. A loud crash echoed from below. "That's her," Ray whispered. Damon didn't wait. He followed the smoke trail, deeper into the canyon. It took hours, through frozen hills and burning muscle. But at last he saw the wreck. The pod was open, burning, broken, and Sylvie bloodied. Crawling from the wreck, he dropped to his knees beside her. "You came," she said, eyes wide, blinking. "I told you," he said, voice shaking. "I keep my promises." Ray rushed into her sister's arms, crying and laughing all at once. But it wasn't over. In the sky above, a dark shape blocked the stars. Milera's ship had arrived. The buyer's voice rang across the comm system. "Return the girl, or your entire colony will be classified as criminal territory." Damon looked at Sylvie, then at REI. Then he walked into the center of the settlement and activated the old public beacon. A message broadcast across the sector. "This is Damon Voss. I am claiming legal guardianship over 2 refugees, 1 minor, 1 adolescent. Any force used against them will be seen as a declaration of aggression against human territory." Melra laughed on the other end. "You think your little backwater world scares me." But Damon wasn't finished. He stepped aside and dozens of people stepped forward behind him. Mechanics, traders, ex-soldiers, outlaws, all human. "They're part of our family now," someone shouted. "You want them, you? Go through all of us." Melrose ship hovered, charged its weapons, then paused. Too many witnesses, too much noise. She cursed, then left. In the quiet that followed, Sylvie sat by the fire again, Ray in her lap, Damon beside them. "You were willing to give yourself up," Damon said. "So were you," she replied. "Maybe we're more alike than we thought." She smiled. "Maybe we finally belong." They called it Hometh. Wind blew gently over the outer ridge of the settlement. Dust danced in soft spirals beneath a sky full of stars. For the first time in weeks, the world felt still. Not silent, but calm. As if the air itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what came next. SYLVI sat beside a small campfire with Ray curled up under her arm. The little girl was sleeping peacefully now, her fever gone, her breathing light and steady. Her skin glowed again with that soft shimmer that once marked her noble blood, but now it just marked life. Survival. Behind them, the village was no longer quiet. People were building, not ships or weapons, but shelters. Damon worked alongside others, lifting metal beams, fitting solar lights into corners, helping design a new section of the lower district, a safe zone for displaced refugees. Aliens, humans, hybrids, it didn't matter. No one would be turned away again. And it all started because of a girl who whispered, "We'll do anything. Just don't send us back." It had been 3 days since Melra's ship turned away in the sky, vanishing without a word. Damon knew. She'd be back maybe, not tomorrow. Maybe not even this year. But power-hungry people like her never truly gave up. But next time, she wouldn't just face him. She'd face a village that stood like a wall. A family.sylv. I walked with Ray through the new gardens. They weren't full of flowers, yet just patches of soil, new seeds, and hope. But Ray touched everything with joy. To her, every leaf was a miracle. They passed a group of children, human and alien, playing with a ball made of old wires and cloth. One of the older human kids offered it to Rei. She took it, surprised, then smiled. "Can I play?" she asked. Sylvi nodded. "Go." As Ray ran off, laughing, Sylvie stood alone and cried quietly, not from fear, not from pain, but because they had made it. Against every odd, against every chain, against every bounty, they were still standing. That night, the village gathered around a large fire. Stories were shared. Food passed from hand to hand. Laughter filled the air. Lisa returned, quiet as always. She nodded at Damon from the shadows. "You did it," she said. "No," Damon replied. "She did." He looked at Sylvie, now helping Ray serve drinks to the others. Both smiling, both glowing. "You know," Lisa added, "she's still a target. Her bloodline, I don't care," Damon said firmly. "She's not property, not cargo, not a symbol. Then what is she?" Damon smiled. "She's family." Later, as the stars stretched across the black sky, Ray climbed into her small bed in the home Damon helped build. It was simple: 3 beds, a heater, shelves full of donated books, and soft blankets. Sylv sat beside her. "Are we really safe now?" Ray asked. Sylv. I took her hand. "For now, yes. And if danger comes back, we'll face it together." "Do you miss the stars?" Ray asked, yawning. Sylv. I looked out the window. Sometimes, but the stars never gave us a place to belong. Here, we have that. Ray's eyes drifted closed. Sylv. I watched her breathe. Damon entered quietly and handed Sylvia a small box. "What's this?" she asked. "Papers," he said. "Official ones. Signed by the regional council. You're no longer escaped cargo. You're free. You're recognized citizens." Sylvie stared at the papers, hands shaking. "You did this?" she asked. "You earned it." Her eyes watered. "I don't know how to thank you." "Don't," Damon said. "Just live. Be free. Protect your sister. That's all I need." She looked at him for a long moment, then whispered, This is what home feels like." Outside, beneath the sky, an old patrol droid hovered near the settlement gates. It scanned the area, read warmth, life signs, structural growth, and sent a final message to the outer systems. Village no longer temporary. Designation permanent. Mixed race protected zone registered. Human-led initiative successful. Message complete. The droid turned and flew back into the sky. In the quiet, hours before dawn, Sylvie stood alone by the cliffside. Damon joined her, coffee in hand. "You can leave now, you know," he said. "There's no chains, no cages. You're free to go anywhere." She shook her head. "We're not leaving." He raised an eyebrow. "Why not?" She smiled softly. "Because the stars may be beautiful, but they never held our hands when we cried. They never made soup when we were cold. They never stayed when everyone else left." She looked at him. "You did?" He smiled. "Then welcome home, Sylvie." She turned back toward the rising sun. "No," she whispered. "We've always been home. We just didn't know it yet." The end.